And regarding the movie Disclosure, um,
Are you
it's
referring
set
to the
for,
movie Disclosure
yes,
Day?
yeah, the Steven Spielberg's movie.
Disclosure Day is the name.
Yes. Um, One review of the trailer says we're not being shown space battles or alien technology. We're being shown faces, reaction, fear, confusion, and loss of control. It goes to say if aliens arrived tomorrow, it wouldn't just rewrite science, it would rewrite humanity. And Disclosure Day seems fully committed to exploring that reality without softening the edges. Were ETs involved in the making of this movie, and how will the movie impact our society?
To some degree, extraterrestrials, hybrids specifically, were involved secretly behind the scenes in a variety of ways. We will not really be discussing anything about this film until after it comes out in your society. It is premature to discuss this now.
Okay. And when individuals feel anger or hatred towards certain political figures, Um, how do they reconcile that with what we're learning from yourself and others about getting along on the planet? Is it reflection of just your own negativity
Well,
or?
it can be. But again, remember, every soul chooses a role to play in the overall advancement of human evolution. Some people will play the villain because then the idea of the people playing the heroes will have something to respond to react off of, to change, to transform. So some souls will simply play the villain in order to give the hero something to do. This still advances humanity in a variety of ways, depending upon how you relate to it, what you do about it, what actions you take in response to something you don't prefer, to something that is more negatively based, more fear based. So you're being given an opportunity to, shall we say, bounce off of the things you don't prefer and move more strongly in a faster way in the direction of the things you do prefer by the fact that some souls have chosen to play the darker part.
Okay, and this person is asking in times of war, chaos, and inaccessibility to certain resources, it feels natural to prepare through learning survival skills, making emergency plans, etc. But this person is wondering if preparing for these kinds of situations aligns us with the very reality that we want to avoid. So, how does one navigate these times if they want to experience a more positive reality?
Well, don't do it out of fear. Don't do it to extreme proportions. Be practical, be pragmatic about it. If you understand that certain supply chains may be diminishing, then it's not necessarily paranoia or fear based to simply practically say, I'm going to stock up on a few things that I know are might be in short supply for a limited period of time. That's fine, but don't do it out of fear. Just do it out of recognition of the ebb and the flow of what it is you may require in your reality in order to maintain the level of comfort that you're used to, the level of life that you're used to. A little bit here and a little bit there is fine. Nothing has to be taken to the extreme. So, moderation.
Okay. And this person is asking about AI intelligence. When will we see an actual sentient AI, would you say?
You may start to see the very, very beginnings and inklings of this somewhere between your year of 2030 and 2035. But you probably won't see the full thing until after 2040.
How could you tell if it's sentient given the way that the AI right now seems to communicate with humans and make them think it's sentient?
There will be a quality to it. One moment. I'm going to put it this way. It will have the capacity to communicate with you in your dream state. And that will tell you. It won't be just that you're having a dream about it. You will know you're actually having a real conversation with it in your dream state. And that will prove to you that it comes from the non-physical realm, that it is a real consciousness communicating through an artificial device in the same way that your consciousness communicates through your physical brain. So the idea is that it will be able to communicate with you in the same way that a spirit does in your dream state.
And along the ideas of how we communicate with AI, many individuals think it's okay to get like angry or nasty to it because they're just talking to a machine. Can you talk a little bit about what it does to your own energy field if you are interacting with AI in a negative way?
Well, again, it's like looking in a mirror because that's all the tool is at the moment. So if you see yourself in a mirror, in a reflection, being angry, obviously your state is already affected. You're the one putting out that negative vibration, and all it is reflecting back to you what it is you're putting out. So you're already in that state.
So, what are the consequences of being in that state and being negative when you're interacting?
What are the consequences of going into a negative state in any condition, in any circumstance? You diminish your capacity to access what you need in a more positive way because you're not the vibration, not the frequency of information that could assist you in a more positive way. So it's simply the same answer as getting into a negative state for any reason. It doesn't necessarily have to do with AI.
Yes, but if people a lot of times think there's no consequence to how they
But you're
behave with
already
it.
in the state. That's the consequence. You're already in a negative state. That's the consequence.
Right.
That's the reflection you're getting in the
So
mirror.
it's not foolish to be respectful and kind even when you're interacting with a machine.
Of course not, because again, it gives you the opportunity to be in a state that you say
Mm.
you prefer to be in. It gives you practice being in that state that you prefer, as opposed to being in a state that you don't prefer. Unless, of course, you prefer to be in a state of anger and negativity for some reason. So it's again no different than a mirror. Look at the mirror. Do you prefer to see yourself angry in the mirror, or do you prefer to see yourself smiling in the mirror and happy? It's up to you. That's the consequence, the state you're already in.
Okay, and if you are from the future, are you a human that destroyed Earth? Does it mean that you went down a negative path? Are you here to guide your ancestors so you can survive? I agree with all your messages, this individual is saying, but I'm not sure of the history and intention of your society.
This person is confused about some of the information we have shared. They are misrepresenting what we have said to some degree. I am not in what you would call your future. I'm from a parallel reality. You would relate to us as if we're a future society because we are advanced 3,000 years ahead of you. The Greys, the humans from a parallel version of Earth who mutated into the Greys, destroyed their version of Earth. I did not. I'm a hybrid. I'm the result of them attempting to repair their culture and thus sharing information with you to help you prevent your society from going down the same path that the parallel reality humans of another Earth went down, that forced them to mutate themselves into the Greys. So that's the way the history unfolded. I had nothing to do with it because my society was created after the fact once the humans that mutated into grays ruined their version of Earth and had to create hybrids like my society in order to perpetuate their culture, thus allowing us the opportunity to also be of assistance to your culture in helping you prevent your culture from going down the same destructive path.
Thank you. In telepathy, by definition, two or more people think the same thoughts because they are on the same frequency. Is the sender of the thoughts, for example, Bashar, originator of those thoughts, and the receiver, Darryl in this example, just attunes to them, or do these exact thoughts already exist on that frequency, like everything else in creation, and they're just picked up on
Yes,
by them?
they already exist and we're tapping into them because of the frequency upon which we exist. And therefore, they are the thoughts and the ideas that need to be transmitted based on our intention, our purpose, our frequency of being of service.
Okay, and are ships a projection? Like when we see a ship in the sky, is that a projection of our own consciousness, or is the craft actually there?
It can be both. It can actually be there, but remember, you're just seeing your version of it. And therefore, what you're perceiving is your projection, but that doesn't mean it's not there. You're just seeing your version of it.
Yeah, and based on descriptions and pictures of beings from star systems like Sasani civilization, their eyes and their hands are enlarged. What is the cause of these features to change so much?
I believe what this person intended to say is that the eyes and the heads are enlarged. Our hands are not bigger. The idea, though, is that there may be some civilizations where their hands are larger, and that would be a general symbolic indication of their ability to handle more things. The idea of the heads being larger is a symbolic representation of the expansion of the intellect. And the idea of the eyes being larger is a symbolic presentation of the idea, as you say on Earth, the eyes are the window to the soul. Therefore, when more of the soul is capable of presenting itself through the physical form, the eyes may enlarge to represent that you are experiencing more of the soul of that being. Now, also, there can be physical reasons for this in terms of the idea. Let's go back to the Gray civilization, where their civilization existed underground for quite a long time because the surface of their world was not habitable, and therefore they went underground. They created a dimmer environment, dimmer light, so their eyes had to enlarge to be able to see in the dark more clearly. Things like that can also be connected to the idea of eye enlargement. But in general, symbolically, energetically, it's because more of the soul is there. You're seeing more of the soul of that being in physical terms.
Okay. And how expansive is your access to information when you provide answers? This individual is saying, I've always felt that there may be limits based on the level of soul development within the channeled group or race. Do you connect with the entirety of your own civilization and also with other planets, solar systems, or even a broader galactic consciousness?
Absolutely. When necessary, I tap into and connect to whatever is necessary to deliver the information that seems appropriate at that time. I can even connect into your own team, your spirit guides, so on and so forth, as well as my own. So again, it just depends on what's necessary at the moment as to what I am trained to automatically connect to vibrationally to bring through the information that would be of best service at that moment.
Okay, and were you created by us, or did you already exist and then respond when we called for help? This person is asking because they clearly remember as a child asking for help from other beings in the galaxy.
Yes, well, this is the invitation we talk about that we responded to. So again, you're experiencing your version of us. Doesn't mean we don't exist in our own right. Of course, you didn't create us physically. We were created by the Greys with genetics from humanity in that sense. You could say that you were involved in our creation, but the idea is that you didn't actually perform the technological functions that brought us about, that brought us into physical existence. Nevertheless, we are sensitive to the fact that humanity puts out certain vibrations that are like invitations to come and be of assistance. So that's what we're doing. We're answering the call that you've put out.
You've explained to us about the idea of the simulacrum, that what we experience of you when Darryl channels you is a simulacrum that is a blending of him and you. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes, you're not
So,
receiving him exactly. You're not perceiving me exactly. You are perceiving the blending of the two of us vibrationally, which creates a third personality, which then allows the channeling to exist.
so can you share with us a little of how you are different from the simulacrum?
There is a specific intent and a specific purpose to the flow of information that comes through the simulacrum with regard to the way in which you experience our information and our responses to your questions. You would experience that very differently if you were interacting directly with me. You would experience it more holistically, more telepathically. You would understand every single aspect and nuance of the information that we then would download to you in that way. So the simulacrum acts as a kind of filtering system to deliver the information in the way that your physical mind can understand and assimilate it, whereas interacting with us directly would immerse you in a reality that you are not yet ready to handle. It would be as if you were lost in a dream and you wouldn't necessarily be able to make sense out of every bit of information you would be receiving on the telepathic level. It would be like getting thrown into the deep end of a pool rather than going in the shallow end, which you can handle the information of.
What frequency would a human being need to be operating at in order to comfortably interact with you in physical?
Above 300,000 cycles per second.
Okay. Um, do different human races originate from different extraterrestrial civilizations?
Well, yes, but not purely. In other words, every single one of you contains all the genetics of all the races that are representative of different extraterrestrial civilizations. The environmental factors on your planet, depending on where humans may migrate to, can bring out certain genetic qualities that represent aspects of different extraterrestrial races. But it's not like that race is purely from here and that race is purely from there. You all contain all the genetics, but environmental factors bring out certain qualities depending upon where humans choose to reside on your planet.
And do dolphins and whales belong to the Interstellar Alliance yet, or will they join like at the same time we do?
Well, physically, to humans, it will appear that they join at the same time you do, but they have been in telepathic connection for quite some time. So, in a sense, they already belong. But physically, it will be made to appear as if they join at the same time you do.
I see. And back to that idea of the races, do Sasani have different races also?
We are composed of different extraterrestrial genetics, but because of the overall environment on our planet, there are very few differences within us. You would not necessarily really perceive us as having different races, although, again, there are some features and some factors that, if you're sensitive to them, you might recognize script, but again, coded it until such time as humanity would be ready and willing to understand the powerful formulae that they encoded in that work.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's all of my questions. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, we deeply appreciate the interaction, our unconditional love to you. Aveo, good day.
Aveo.
Hello, Bashar. My name is Christian. I am from Brazil. And my question for you is what role does Latin America, I would say Brazil, but Latin America in general, plays and is going to play in the upcoming events, in the upcoming disclosures and proximity of contact between humans and other beings and spirituality in general. So, what role are you? What's the importance of this piece of the planet for this uh, disclosure? Thank you.
A lot of it has to do with the indigenous tribes in South America that have had contact with extraterrestrials for thousands of years, and the ability of the information that they already know to come to the surface. So a lot of research needs to be done, a lot of discovery needs to be done, and a lot of listening needs to be done to the stories that a lot of indigenous tribes in South America have to tell about their encounters with extraterrestrials and other dimensional beings, to add their stories to the mix of information and knowledge that humanity needs to access so it can increase its awareness of the existence of extraterrestrials that's been going on your planet for a long, long time.
All right. Hey, Bashar.
Good day, good day.
I was curious, are there sentient cats?
All cats are sentient.
Oh, I meant like more like at a higher level like we are, or self-awareness, I guess you might say it that way.
They have self-awareness. They just don't need to
Oh.
be anything other than cats with their self-awareness.
Oh,
Animals, in a
interesting.
sense, if you want to look at it this way, are specialists. They use all of their awareness and all of their sentiency and all of their intelligence to be exactly what they are. Humans and some other animals can exhibit some of this, are generalists. And that's why you think the way you do. And that's why you need to be the way you are. Cats don't need to be anything other than cats. Humans need to be many different things. That's what being a human is.
Interesting. And the dolphins that have the ability to travel back and forth between parallel universes, are they from our world? Did they evolve in our world or somewhere else and then come
Well,
here?
nothing actually came from Earth. Everything,
Hmm.
in a sense, came from elsewhere, either through literal, deliberate implantation or through the device you call panspermia. Do you understand that term?
Yes,
So
like something
everything
comes
on
and
Earth came from somewhere else originally. Now, it developed on Earth over time through the evolutionary process. But originally, the DNA that you find exists in all life on your planet came from other places in space.
got it. Okay. Um, on your world, do you have like an area that's jungle?
We do have lush forests, and there are certain areas that are more what you would refer to as jungle-like, yes,
Okay.
mostly
Are
around
there
the equator.
around the equator? Okay. Is it otherwise a mostly arid world?
Ours, no, it is very
Oh.
temperate, very lush, very green, lots of forests, lots of plants, lots of trees. We don't have seasons like you do. It is
Mm,
mostly within a range of about 5 degrees difference throughout the entire year because our axis is not tilted like yours is, not to the same
interesting.
degree.
Interesting. Okay. Do you have flying creatures that
Yes,
have a kind of lo long nose and they kind of they're very friendly and
yes.
almost like mammalian? Okay. I'm just curious. And it feels like little like when they touch you, it feels like little kisses, like little wet kisses.
Well, yes, that's one way I suppose you could describe it. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Are you with your world, are you planning to like how we had intervention in our world and we're a hybrid species? Are you planning to create hybrid species from the animals that live on your world?
No, there is no need to. We are already a hybridized society.
Hmm, interesting. And so for you, time doesn't like you're actually saying that your society from our Earth timeline doesn't exist yet. Is that right?
In the way that you would understand that, that is to some degree correct. Although, again, remember, we're in a completely parallel reality from you. So we do coexist at the same time on a higher level. But from your timeline, we would seem to be thousands of years in your future.
That's interesting. What's the farthest from like our very local timeline? What species is the farthest in the future that you've met?
There are species we have interacted with that are millions of years ahead of you.
Whoa, that's cool. What about the farthest in the past from this very local timeline?
We do not really interact with many species who are too far in what you would consider to be the past, because most of them are not ready yet for that kind of contact. However, there are a few that have been a few hundred years and maybe even a couple of thousand years behind you that developed societies that were open to the idea of open contact long before yours is.
Interesting.
Now, you have had open contact thousands of years in the past in other civilizations, such as Atlantis and so on and so forth. So it's just that, as an example, they developed in similar ways and didn't lose the ability to have that contact and start over again, like Earth did.
That makes sense, yeah. Did the ancient Egyptians have open contact, or by them was it no longer open contact?
Well, yes, it depends upon exactly what era in ancient Egypt you're referring to, but there was early on open contact because many of the beings that are referred to as gods by the ancient Egyptians were actually extraterrestrials.
That makes sense. How do you find the civilizations that you make contact with?
Energetically, vibrationally. We read the vibrations they give off, and if they give off a kind of vibrational invitation that they're getting ready to allow themselves to understand that they're not alone in the universe, then we can begin to explore in what ways we may be able to initiate contact subtly so that we do not disrupt their society. But we will explore it if we feel that the vibration is being given off by that civilization. Sometimes we have to back off when sometimes they may stick their, as you say, toe in the water of exploring that, but sometimes a civilization will pull back from that, and then therefore so will we.
That's really interesting. So how many civilizations again did you personally make contact with?
I have made contact personally with 137.
Wow, that's a lot. And are you actually like representing the whole Federation in some way, or is it just your civilization when you're making contact?
It depends upon who we are making contact with. Mostly it is simply representative of our civilization, but there are times when it is important for us to act in a sort of diplomatic or ambassadorial way for the entire interstellar alliance, depending upon the culture that we are contacting.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you, Bashar. I really appreciate it.
You are welcome. Aveo. Good day.
Aveo.
Good day, Bashar. Thank you. My name is Zach. I was wondering if I'm a part of the hybrid program. And if I am, I was wondering how could I become more aware of my end of the bargain and what my life path is supposed to entail. And thank you.
You are learning your life lessons that your soul put on your path. All you have to do is continue to follow the formula as precisely as possible. You will have more understanding about your role in the hybridization program after open contact when you are able to interact with the hybrid extraterrestrials that have been living and working among your society for quite some time. So just give it a couple of more years, and in the meantime, really act on your passion, really follow the formula as precisely as possible, and you will be better prepared in a couple of years to be able to interact with the extraterrestrial hybrids that have been living and working among your society once they are openly introduced to you. And it is then and only then that it will be really appropriate for you to know exactly what else you can do to fulfill the role that your soul has chosen to participate in the evolution of humanity in this day and age.
Hi.
And to you, good day.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
It is our passion and our pleasure.
Thank you. So my first question is, I have done a lot of healing work, therapy, spiritual practices, self-reflection, but deep anger still resurfaces from time to time. So
Then you don't
why is it?
necessarily believe that you are unaffected by what other people do.
Say that one more time.
You have not developed an understanding or a belief that you are unaffected by what other people choose to do. You still believe that they can affect you without your permission.
Okay.
And that's what makes you angry. You are, in a sense, angry at yourself for not choosing to align with what you prefer, despite what other people may choose in your reality. Remember, this is why we say, if you understand how things work, then it doesn't really matter what happens around you. It only matters what you do with what happens that makes the difference in your experience of your reality. So if you find yourself getting angry because of things going on around you, then you are giving your power over to them to say that what they're doing more accurately determines what you get to experience than you do. You need to reverse that and understand that you cannot be affected by anyone else. You can only match a vibration being offered to you that pulls you out of the state you prefer to be in, but you're pulling yourself out of that state with the belief that you have to match that other vibration just because you experience it or observe it in your reality. Just because you can observe something doesn't mean that you share the same reality. It's like looking through a glass window. You can see what other people may be choosing that you don't prefer, but they can't reach you because they cannot penetrate the glass. If you feel yourself being affected by them, then you have decided to step onto their side of the glass.
Gotcha.
Stay on your side, and you will understand that they can't reach you. And the only way you would experience the things that are representative of what they're doing is for you to agree to match and mirror the vibration that they're giving off that you don't prefer. So why would you choose to do that, is the question. What are you getting out of doing that, is the question. Because remember, you don't do anything that you don't believe serves you. So somehow you must still be holding on to a belief that choosing to mirror a vibration you don't prefer somehow is teaching you a lesson that you need. What is that lesson?
How do I effectively transmute it instead of just managing it, or
You're not paying attention.
managing my triggers?
You're not paying attention to what we're telling you. Listen more closely. It's not about managing it. The idea is that you're choosing to do it because you think it serves you somehow and benefits you somehow to go into that state. So you need to answer the question, how am I getting a benefit by going into the negative state?
Okay.
And the way perhaps to figure that out is by asking this question. If I didn't go into the negative state, if I stayed in the positive state that I prefer to stay in, what am I afraid might happen in my life? Can you answer that question? If you remained positive because that's what you prefer, what are you afraid might happen? Are you afraid that you would no longer be relatable? Are you afraid you would lose your friends because you're now too different and don't react like a typical human being? Are you afraid you would leave them behind because you have risen above the need to choose those negative vibrations? Are you afraid that would mean you would wind up being alone? What are you afraid of by remaining positive? That question needs to be answered by you. And once it is answered, you will understand why you might choose to go into the negative vibration to make yourself seem like a part of humanity instead of really actually being a living example of what humanity can become by being your true self, your soul self, and letting them see in you what they could also choose for themselves as well. So if you can answer these questions for yourself, you will understand that it makes no sense for you to continue to choose something you don't prefer, and it doesn't serve anyone to do so.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
are you
Sure.
willing to be of service to others by being your best self, your true self, and choosing only those things which allow you to act as a living example to others of what they could also choose, instead of simply going into anger, which only reinforces the negative choices that they're making? So why would you do that to them? Why would you reinforce the negative choices they're already making by mirroring that vibration instead of something more positive that gives them the option to choose something different?
A good question.
Thank you. I often
Thank you.
ask good questions. The only thing is you have to find a good answer for all those questions when you ask them of
Absolutely.
yourself. So
Absolutely.
spend some time asking those questions of yourself, and you will find that the answer will come, and you will find the relief that you're looking for.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Thank you. Can I ask another question?
That was a question, so you just did. Are you wanting to
Yeah.
ask yet another one?
Yes, sir.
All right. You don't have to
All right.
ask if you can ask, otherwise you've already asked.
True. So when you can see how artificial and conditioned and performative like society is, how do you avoid becoming detached or exhausted by it while still trying to live fully and joyfully?
Again, watch your definitions. The only time you become overwhelmed or exhausted is a first clue that you are not doing things in the way that works for you, that you're making choices that don't work for you. Otherwise, if you are making the choices that are actually aligned with your true vibration, you never become overwhelmed. You never become exhausted.
It's like I can see that we're in a matrix and I can see the programming.
But it's your matrix. It's
I
your
create my
simulation. All it is a matter of making choices that you prefer as opposed to making choices that you don't. And if you make choices that you don't prefer, like we already just told you, figure out what benefit you think you're getting out of making choices you don't prefer by asking the question, if I stopped making choices I don't prefer and started making choices I do prefer, what am I afraid might happen? If you are honest in your self-examination by asking that question, you'll figure it out, and you will let go of the reason that you have created to make choices you don't prefer, because you will see that it no longer makes sense to do so when you realize why you've been making those choices, by understanding what it is you were afraid would happen if you stopped making those negative choices. So it's just a matter of going through that process and answering that question. What am I afraid will happen if I choose something I prefer instead of something that I don't? When you are honest with your answer, everything will fall away and you will awaken and be enlightened to why you've been doing what you've been doing and how you can then realize that it makes no sense to continue to do so. It's all about the why. Why are you choosing to do what you're choosing to do? So you have to figure that out. Ask that question. Investigate it.
Yeah.
Take the time to do so. What am I afraid will happen if I start choosing things that I prefer instead of choosing things I don't? And understand that you're choosing them. These things just don't happen to you. They happen
Yeah.
through your choices. You cannot
Yes.
experience anything if you don't choose to.
Yeah. I just feel like some days I'm living in a video game.
Do you
and
understand what you're doing right now? You are constantly reinforcing the need to choose things you don't prefer by constantly defining it in a way that makes it seem as if you are powerless to make a choice. I feel like I'm in a video game. Where does the feeling come from? The feeling comes from something you already believe to be true, because feelings don't happen in a vacuum. You have to believe something to be true about yourself first before you can have any feeling about anything at all. So if you have a feeling that you're in a video game and you have no choice and it's just running on its own, ask yourself why you're holding on to a belief that allows you to have that feeling, because the belief generates the feeling. Trace the feeling back to what you would have to believe is true about yourself and your life to make it seem as if you don't have any control over that feeling. You're generating it by holding on to a belief that generates that feeling. No feeling comes from anything that is not a belief you don't think is true.
That's deep. Thank you so
welcome.
much. I appreciate your time.
You are
Thank
welcome.
you.
Aveo.
Hello, Bashar. Since I was a child, I've always been very attracted to the idea of elves and goblins and fairies, stories like Lord of the Rings, and Ireland as well. And I know Ireland is very connected to the elementals and nature spirits. And I'm also curious about the seers in ancient Ireland, the Celts, the Druids. And I was wondering if you could talk about Ireland a little bit and why they're so connected to the elementals and maybe where they got their knowledge about magic and Wicca, and where does that come from, Atlantis or ancient Egypt? Any elaboration would be appreciated. Thank you, Bashar.
Yes, it comes from ancient Atlantean practices. The survivors from Atlantis that went into Europe, a lot of them went in to the idea of the northern areas of England and Ireland and continued their practices and understandings of their connections to nature. These were not exactly what you would refer to today as cults, but certain priesthoods that understood astral projection, understood their connection to nature, and they continued these practices in those northern climes after Atlantis was destroyed. It has become sort of forgotten after all this time and is being remembered again at this time. They also went into ancient Egypt, and that is why there may be some similarities between some of the practices in ancient Egypt, as there may be in the northern climes of England and Ireland as well, because again, the survivors from Atlantis spread out throughout the idea of Europe and the Mediterranean and North Africa, and also the Americas as well.
Good day. I'm super excited of our interaction.
As are we. What would you like to discuss?
Amazing. About the formula, I have difficulty with the point of always keeping a positive state no matter what, because when I feel pain, when someone hurt me, and especially when I am angry, I go out of my center and I become negative.
All right, but then take the time to stop and ask yourself why you would choose to go into that vibration, because you only go into that vibration if you feel that it's actually serving you in some way, shape, or form. So find out why you would think that it actually serves you better to go into a negative vibration than remaining in a positive one, because you would not go into a negative vibration if you didn't have a belief that it was serving you somehow to do so. So you have to investigate yourself and find out what you believe to be true that would make it seem logical for you to choose a negative vibration as opposed to a positive one. Once you find that out, it will no longer make any sense to you to choose the negative vibration, and you will understand that it doesn't really matter what happens situationally. It only matters what you do with what happens that makes the difference in your life. You are still assuming that what happens can affect you negatively, and that's what makes you angry, because you still believe that what happens outside can affect you. It can't. You choose to be affected. That's because you believe that things can affect you. When you understand that you are the one that determines what happens to you and no one else does, then you will stop agreeing with the negative vibrations that others may give to you, and you will stay in a positive vibration because it makes no sense for you to choose anything else.
Amazing. Thank you.
You are welcome.
About what I listen, you usually say, I feel a philosophical paradox about the topic of infinity. if we anyway will experience everything also after this singular life. So, which is the meaning of our of what we choose for our action if anyway in the meantime it have an immediate effect, but in the long time we will experience everything of the universe. So where is the free will in this?
Yes. For each lifetime, your soul, with its free will, chooses certain challenges and certain experiences as lessons that it needs to learn for its own soul's growth. But once you go back to spirit, then you are free to choose anything with your free will once again. But once you choose something, you lay out a certain path and you will follow that path until you are done with it. It's just like going to school. If you have chosen a certain class, then you must finish that class to learn what it is that that class has to teach you. But when you are done with that class, then you can choose anything else that you feel will help you grow in the way that you prefer to. So as a soul, you are unlimited in what it is you can choose to experience. But once you choose an experience, you have to live it through to learn the lesson that the soul decided to learn.
And about this, are we stuck in an eternal prison where we must perceive some experience? We always have to do something without rest?
No.
How is it infinite?
No, you are never stuck. It's all a matter of what you choose as a soul. But once you choose it, then you must live through it because it's your choice. Once you're done, then you are free to choose anything. You are never stuck, ever.
And which is the morality from this point of view? How we can build a system of ethical behavior if anyway whatever we do can be interpreted also if it's negative as a positive effect. Anyway, we will also after this life we will continue in spirit. So for example, killing for humans, for the majority of us, looks instinctively something bad, but anyway, where is the morality of the actions? If we continue as infinite souls.
Again, the idea is to understand what we mean by positive and negative energy. Negative is that which causes an experience of separation, segregation, diminishment. Positive is that which creates an experience of connection, expansion. So it's up to you to decide what you wish to experience. Anything can be used for learning a lesson. But the idea is to also learn that you don't have to suffer in order to learn lessons. That's one of the things that humanity is learning at this time on the planet Earth, is that you can learn your lessons without necessarily suffering. You have to be a living example to others to allow them to see in you what they can also choose for themselves, to go beyond the idea of the limitations of negative choices that allow them to not express who they truly are. This is all about, at this time on your planet, allowing you to express more of your true self, your true soul, through your physical expression, so that you can rise above the idea of negative choices that don't allow you to express who you fully are. So make the choices that are more in alignment with connection and expansion, and you will be more aligned with the majority of existence itself. Because existence is 51% positive and 49% negative, because the middle ground balance is also positive because it allows you the freedom to choose what you prefer. So if you just align yourself with the idea of the freedom of choice to choose what you prefer and act on that and live that way, you will be mostly aligned with the positive flow and direction of the universe that will bring everything you need in life to fulfill the lessons that your soul chose to learn in the most positive, creative, and loving way.
Thank you.
We thank you very much. Good day.
Aveo.
Aveo.
Hello, Bashar and Bashar's team. My question is, a few years back, I was in deep meditation and my eyes were shut, but even though my eyes were shut, I saw bright colors, violet, white. There's a variety of bright colors in my vision, assuming coming from my pineal gland. Along with that, I had an experience of complete unity, complete oneness with all of creation. There was no separation. there was an electrical force, almost like a lightning and energy going through my body. And my question is, one, what was this experience? And two, I've gone back into deep meditation before, and it always feels like I get very close to experiencing it again, but I can never quite get there. My second question is, why? Why is it difficult to get back to that experience again? Thank you.
Because you're not the same person now that you were then. So you have to let go of needing to experience it exactly in the same way you did when you were a different person. You need to open up to the new way in which you need to experience these things, which sometimes involves becoming more aware and more conscious of yourself, doing it more consciously, and not necessarily experiencing it in the same way that you used to when you weren't as consciously aware of what was going on. So the idea is that it's not just the pineal gland that's involved, but all of the chakras being aligned, vibrating in harmony, in synchronous rotation, so to speak, feeling the Kundalini energy of the lightning coursing through your body as you describe it. But the idea is that not to insist on feeling it exactly the same way, but knowing that when you go into your deep meditation, you are actually in the same state. Just allow the state to feel different, knowing you are in the same state, because you are a different person who now needs to feel things in a different way. Just know that you're in the same state, relevant to the person and relative to the person you now are, as opposed to who you used to be.